Good day everyone. My report is about biological diversity and wildlife management. So specifically, we're going to talk about the action plan of the DNR, the Philippine Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan for 2015 to 2028. The banner of this action plan was bringing resilience to Filipino communities. So that is their main goal, definitely to uplift the condition of the IPs or the indigenous people living in the mountain, the coast, from the coastal areas to the mountainous areas of the Philippines. So for the vision, let's start with their vision. So by 2028, biodiversity is restored and rehabilitated, valued, effectively managed and secured, maintaining ecosystem services to sustain healthy, resilient Filipino communities and delivering benefits to all. So that's their vision. Now, let's have their overview of status and trends on Philippine biodiversity. So the Philippines hotspot is identified as one of the world's biologically richest countries. So with 7,100 islands that fall within its border, so the country's terrestrial and marine habitats contain some of the richest biodiversity of flora and fauna. The Philippines is also situated at the apex of the Coral Triangle, which is the global center for marine biodiversity. Despite being ecologically rich, the Philippines still ranks among top 10 countries with the largest number of species threatened with extinction. This is based on the report in 2013. So this is also how they made the overview. This overview is from their action plan too. Okay. So we have here a graph. These are the endemic species by taxonomic group. So in the Philippines, the endemic species, there are a lot of amphibians, as you can see in the graph. There are a lot of amphibians in the Philippines that belongs to the endemic group. So, and we have also a lot of reptiles. Now, we have also plants. Next one are plants. So, because the concern of this action plan, there are a lot of plants that are overexploited too. So they need protection for this one. So we have mammals like the tamaraw. So later we'll talk about the tamaraw, and the birds and the freshwater fishes. So here it says here, the Philippines is one of the most important centers of amphibians and reptile diversity in Southeast Asia. So next we have the key biodiversity areas. So KBAs came about in 2002 through the Philippine Biodiversity Conservation. So key biodiversity areas are those areas that are biologically rich areas that are recognized by the government. So here are this table here shows the key biodiversity areas of the Philippines. There are terrestrial, marine, and terrestrial and marine. So there's areas here. So you can pause the video if you wanted to, because you want to scrutinize these numbers. So here, this is also the map of the protected areas and partially protected areas. So here the green parts are protected areas. So in our region, so we have here a protected area. This protected area is definitely here in somewhere. If we zoom in, those are forests. When we see a satellite image of these areas, these are the forests. We will talk about that later. So these are the principal pressures of biodiversity loss as what is described in this action plan: the invasive species, the habitat loss, climate change, pollution, and overexploitation. So we have here the PBSA planning process and procedure. So it was diagrammed here how the PBSA was created and formulated. So You can freely pause the video to scrutinize its steps in the creation and formulation of this PB cell. Okay. Next. So our main goal for this one would be the targets of the PBSAP by 2028. So the first target is by 2028, the conservation status of nationally and globally threatened species in the country from 2016 levels is maintained or improved. So technically, we have here an example. I have an example here. The number of the tamaraws as of the number of tamaraws has declined on the year 2013 from several thousands. It came to a point that it was already 300, but by 2020, so the current count was already 480. So definitely, this is quite successful. The conservation status of several species in our areas in the Philippines have been successful for this one. So for the next target, we have here by 2028 there will be no net loss in natural forest cover. So I have here a picture of the area of Region 8, so definitely Leyte and Samar. Let's focus on the forest cover of these areas here. By 2013, that is the picture on the left, and then by 2022, that is the picture on the right. So as you can observe, the green areas in this picture at the left here is not the same anymore as what you can observe in the right. So definitely there has been a degradation in the amount of forest cover in our region. So I can consider this one a failure. So the forest wasn't protected yet. It wasn't effective. The protection process of our forest areas was not really that effective. So let's go to number 3. By 2028, there will be no net loss in the presence and area distribution of live coral cover, mangroves and seagrasses. Based on my research, I researched online, the agency or any other agency concerned about these areas or the topics here are on the process of surveys and assessment. So we cannot really give you an overview of what's really the status of our mangroves and especially the conditions of our seagrasses. So we need divers there to. They already made the assessment. The result was not published yet. Okay, so let's go to number 4. By 2028, over 50% of genetic diversity of cultivated plants and farmed and domesticated animals and wild relatives will be conserved or maintained. So for number 4, same with number 3, there are no available update yet. So we still have time because this is still 2028. We still have 6 years more to go. So hopefully in the few years to come, we will have an update for this one. For number 5, let's go to number 5. By 2028, the population of the migratory bird species identified and selected inland and coastal wetlands along the EAAF will be maintained. Here, EAAF means East Asian Australian Flyway. So the route, specifically, we're concerned of the route of the migratory bird species in this one. There are several actions that was created by and was participated by the DENR. They usually join global conventions and they are also doing awareness spreading activities when it comes to migratory birds so that they will be protected in our areas. But as for me, this is one of the tough areas to maintain because we don't have full control of the migratory birds, especially on on their flyway towards our country. So for the next one, we have by 2028, there will be 5% increase in the proportion of green spaces in the 5 largest cities. So we have, again, I have here a picture of, let's focus on one city na lang. So I have here a picture of National Capital Region, so definitely the Quezon City and Manila area. For this first picture here, although they're not technically the same, but we can also see visually the condition of the green areas here. So this is the current status at the right here. This is by 2022. This is the satellite image from Google at 2022, and this was the published picture of Quezon City on 2013. No, not 2013. That's 2016. So as you can see here at the right, the green areas at the left that was present in 2016 are not that much when it comes to the current status of the green areas here. Definitely there are still a Lamesa Dam. The Lamesa Dam is still present here. This one of the green areas. The park. But look at the Manila North cemetery areas, which was considered a green area. Here mostly are denuded. So for this part, for this number 6, I think it is safe to conclude now that this was not successful. So let's go to number 7. So for number 7, by 2028, a result of improved conservation ecosystem services provided by key biodiversity areas will be enhanced. I scoured the internet for this one, but there were no available updates for this one yet. So we still have 6 years to wait for the update. We are hopeful na this target will be accomplished by 2028 also. This would be better for ourselves. So let's proceed to the next. By 2028, the fish stocks of economically important species will be maintained. For number 8, fish stocks recovery remains uncertain for this one. According to my research, technically they have to do sampling for this one. They have to do massive sampling around the areas of marine areas for this one, but definitely they have not done it yet. So maybe they're waiting for 2028, but as for now, we have no update about this one, so we cannot determine if this is a success or not yet. So let's proceed to the next. By 2028, there will be an annual increase of at least 5% in biodiversity conservation related jobs. Based on the jobs available at 2013, there are no actual count of how much was hired and how much was available, how many jobs were available during 2016 or in the previous years and in the current year. In the government, we can account it, but when it comes to public hiring biodiversity related jobs, it was not really published in the Civil Service Commission. So this one, judging this one based on those areas and without any numbers, it's impossible yet. So we will wait for update pa. So we still have 6 years to wait for this one. Oh, sige, let's go to number 10. The key threats to the biodiversity will be reduced, controlled, and managed. So I have here a photo from a publication here on June 2021. It's still here. It says here, illegal logging in Philippines. Palawan stokes fear of mining resurgence. So there is still technically what we cannot see published online, even if we cannot see updates online, there is still so much of an evidence na the threats to the biodiversity was not really controlled or managed. So this area here, we can safely conclude as of now that they are not yet successful for these areas. So let's go to number 11. By 2028, there will be 10% increase in agricultural areas devoted to all types of biodiversity-friendly agriculture. For this one, there has been no published update also about this area, but based on the article published by Andrea Monica Ortiz and Justin Nicole Torres in the year 2020, there has been an increase in banana and pineapple plantation. So technically, this research paper was about how this type of agricultural industry affects our biodiversity. They emphasize that this type of agriculture technologies is also bringing harm to our biodiversity, the pineapple and the banana plantation, because they overlap the areas of our forest, especially in Mindanao. We can assess that this year, biodiversity-friendly agriculture is not moving forward yet. So they still have 6 years to do it. Let's go to number 12. By 2028, the capacity for biodiversity conservation of public and private sector groups in terrestrial and marine protected areas and key biodiversity areas will be strengthened. Here, most private companies are leaning towards being biodiversity friendly companies. And the government is doing its best to spread awareness to the Filipino people through their awareness programs. So I can safely conclude that this particular area has progressed. So it was not failure at all. So by 2028, 50% of LGUs will have formulated and adopted the enhanced CLUP using revised HLURB framework. So CLUP is comprehensive land use plans, and HLURB are housing and land use regulatory board. For number 13, the Department of Human Settlements and the Urban Development has issued a memorandum to the local government about this comprehensive land use plans. This is a progress. So this part here has a progress. So number 14, we have by 2028, 1 million hectares of degraded ecosystems will be restored and will be under various stages of restoration. As I research online based on the article published about forest landscape and restoration in here, it says here, the forest landscape restoration programs in the Philippines, the evidence from logged forests and mixed species plantations by Karen Veridiano and Jobs Michael Schroeder and company. It says there has been a slight improvement in the Philippine degraded ecosystems. So this part here is making progress. So number 15, by 2028 there will be at least 10 nationally recognized heritage systems. There has been a lot of nominated sites in 2013, but there was no current published update about this one, whether they pushed through or what happened to those nominated agricultural heritage ecosystems that they promoted. But there has been a lot of heritage systems they have promoted last 2013. That was more than 10. So let's go number 16. By 2028, there will be improved conservation management of caves. The Biodiversity Management Bureau has already have an action plan about this one. So their action plan was also focused for the year 2019 to 2028. So they have not gave an update yet. So we still wait for it. We still have 6 years to wait for it. So let's go to number 17. By 2020, relevant biodiversity conservation policies to address existing gaps are in place. The part has been successful as policies parallel to this have been implemented. So there are several biodiversity conservation policies that have been implemented. There are also several action plans of different agencies that were created and formulated for this one. So when it comes to this area, this is successful. You can consider this a success. Number 18, let's proceed to number 18. So by 2028, there will be 10% annual increase from 2015 baseline in the number of schools, POs are provincial offices, media organizations, LGUs, private companies, policymakers, government offices that are aware and supportive of biodiversity and its importance, threats, and benefits of protecting it. So as we observe, diba, there are a lot of published publications online that shows na the DENR or even other agencies in the government are actively participating in spreading awareness, especially in schools. So they are even like building many forests in schools, and even the greening program, some of the greening program are implemented in schools. I think that this area his area here has a progress. So consider this a success. Number 19. By 2028, there will be 10% increase in the total area from 2015 levels of terrestrial, including inland wetlands, protected areas managed through NIPAS. NIPAS are National Integrated Protected Area System, and other conservation measures. So indigenous community, conserved areas, local conservation areas, critical habitats that overlap with KBAs. So for this, there are situations that usually when it comes to protected area system, especially for the indigenous community, there are several reports that their communities are being targeted by several mining industries, like what happened earlier, diba, as I explained, diba, in Palawan, there are several illegal logging activities so that their mining industries could push through. So those areas there are areas where the indigenous people are also thriving. So this is not quite successful yet. So we still have 6 years to wait about this. So let's go to number 20. By 2028, there will be a 20% increase from 2015 levels in the coverage of MPAs or sanctuaries across various aquatic habitats. Based on the record, there were 22 protected areas in 2013, but there are only 107 left in 2018. There has been a decline. This is safe to conclude that this area wasn't successful at all. Overall, that's the coverage of my report. Thank you for listening. Bye.